Welcome to Orange Grove 55.
Yep. All right. So we have a fantastic question, which is all in line with what we're talking about today.
Sure.
From a friend of the channel who's actually been on the channel before, Mr. Peter Vasquez. And Peter's asking, now that the Nemo submarines have been given a few more extra years to live, do you think this means that Tomorrowland refurb has been pushed back even more? Or do you have hope a new Tomorrowland is on the horizon? Here's the thing, Peter. There is this misconception. I see a lot of content creators out there kind of regurgitating like this idea that like, well, since they redid the subs, it's impossible to get a new Tomorrowland. Like, oh, that's a sign that Tomorrowland's on the back burner because they redid the submarine voyage. That's completely false. And why it's false is because a renovated submarine voyage can exist in conjunction with a new Tomorrowland. There's no rule. There's no hard rule that submarines have to go away if they're going to renovate Tomorrowland. There's no rule on that. Fans assume that. Content creators assume that, but that's not the rule. So they can renovate the submarine lagoon and give us a brand new Tomorrowland. So I don't think they're like exclusive to each other. So just the fact that the submarines have been redone does not mean Tomorrowland as a whole is on the back burner. And what we've talked about this whole conversation today shows quite the contrary. There are very much major talks and plans from what we're hearing that Tomorrowland is very much on the forefront. So it just seems to me like the submarine voyage will be part of the new Tomorrowland. And just because it's not like being bulldozed doesn't mean that a new Tomorrowland won't be coming. But Dre, what are your thoughts on that question from Peter?
Yeah, I don't think New Tomorrowland is necessarily mutually exclusive, between it and Submarine Voyage. I think Submarine Voyage, it's a maintenance nightmare, yes. It doesn't do that much in terms of capacity, yes. But it does what it kind of needs to do. And to replace it, it would be a loss, right? And it doesn't necessarily mean that anything that is around it, it doesn't necessarily make it, I don't know, this kind of, this barrier to building something new. As I showed in a previous graph here, as you could see that the submarine voyage is almost to the side. It doesn't really the submarine show building and everything. It's almost all the way over to the the right, I believe, of Disneyland proper, and doesn't necessarily have to interact with anything else. So I think with them redoing Submarine Voyage, I think that does speak to something coming in terms of Tomorrowland revitalization, that they want that to look as best as possible. Maybe when a new Tomorrowland is on the way. We're getting a lot of chatter about this from various sources, disparate sources, I might add. And, from what I understand, a new Tomorrowland may have been on the horizon for years, even leading up to the Imagineering story that we saw Joe Rohde there, right? And he was taking the Carousel Progress building, and where that goes, I don't know. But apparently this has been in the works for quite some time. And it's only now starting to come to fruition. From what we understand, Toontown was chosen over Tomorrowland just because of, from what I understand, cost, right? But now that we're kind of getting out of Toontown here pretty shortly, it should be opening up, I believe, in 2023. Now, where do those construction workers go? Where do those funds go? And it looks like it's going towards Tomorrowland. So I'll say this, just because they redid Submarine Voyage doesn't necessarily mean that something's not on the way. I think it is.
Yeah, 100%. Mr. Family Man, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I completely agree. I don't really necessarily feel that the submarines seal the fate for the new Tomorrowland, one way or the other. I think, as Vash had mentioned, that I think that it would actually make it more come to fruition that there's going to be something new for Tomorrowland, because as sprucing up the land, you want everything to look brand new, different look, new changes, what have you. And it also, I still feel like, by adding even more characters to from Finding Nemo and Finding Dory, because the submarines also, lie on that borderline between Tomorrowland and Fantasyland. And then with Scott Trowbridge mentioning about, a little hint maybe with Frozen, that I think that they're going to be moving from Toontown, not even just to Tomorrowland, but I think also a little section of Fantasyland as well.
No, 100%.
Seems like it.
And we got another question in a whole different direction, but still about the future of Disneyland from Mr. Stephen T. And Stephen T is asking, what theme would you want Disneyland's third gate to be? Or what kind of IPs would you like to see represented in the new park? Now, Stephen, what I want as a third gate would be Westcott. If you ever looked at the Westcott plans, with the people mover system transporting people from the various parks and all that good stuff, and kind of like this Epcot style park, but focusing more on the continents as opposed to countries like Epcot does. I would love to see the third gate for Disneyland Resort be Westcott. I think that would be a perfect kind of like a sister park to the Florida Resort. I just think it would be such a perfect thing to be added. Now, will that happen? I don't know, Stephen, because look, the Disney company has changed a lot since Westcott was kind of birthed or conceptualized back in the late 90s. Like you said, they are very much a IP driven company now. Would they still create a park like Westcott that isn't driven by IP? I don't know. I really don't know. If they're successful with Epcot and Epcot's kind of reimagining, where they're able to take that concept of a park but insert Guardians, Ratatouille, Pixar, Disney, these kind of IPs in that equation, then maybe if they find a lot of success with this Epcot reimagining, we will see something like Epcot. But Stephen, just to answer your question in short, I would love to see Westcott come to the Disneyland Resort. I think it would be a different kind of park that you would find from Disneyland and DCA. It really is the perfect answer to that question, in my opinion. But Dre, I'll go to you, and then George, what would you want the third gate to be if it was up to you? If you were CEO of Ask Sky, what would you put in there?
Well, I know our buddy George might have to be going maybe sometimes soon here, so I don't want to take any time away from him. I'm still thinking about mine. So as CEO, Dre, I will defer for the moment what George has to say. George, what do you think?
Well, for me, and I know this is probably so far-fetched and it would probably never happen, but with Disney, anything's possible. I would love to see maybe not an exact replica, but something close to a Tokyo Disney Sea. Tokyo Disney Sea is like, I haven't even been there, but just with video and photos, even Imagineer said it's the greatest Disney theme park that was ever in existence. And, I think something like that would really bring a lot of tourists to Anaheim. They really want to make Disneyland a vacation kingdom like Walt Disney World. They bring something like Tokyo Disney Sea into the mix. You're not even just getting domestic travelers. You'd be getting international travelers. And that's just my personal thought on it. The second part, what kind of IPs I would add to there, this may be a dull answer, but I really can't say what it would be now, because the length amount of time that it would take for a third gate to come to Disneyland, right, there'd be so many more characters, so many new movies coming out, that anything that they would make in between that time may fit into that kind of theme park. Would I like to see a US version of Zootopia? Absolutely. I would love to see Zootopia come somewhere, maybe not even to the third park, even if they can kind of incorporate it, maybe off of where, off of DCA for an expansion or what have you, or even put an Animal Kingdom at Walt Disney World, somewhere. I would love to see Zootopia incorporated in. But as I said, with so many more movies, coming out, who knows what kind of IPs would exist to then. But as far as for the third gate goes, I would love to see something of Tokyo Disney Sea.
And what do you think, Mr. Vasquez? What would you want, ideally, if you were CEO, Dre, of the Walt Disney Company? What would you want in that spot?
ideally, it would be kind of cool to, I don't know, kind of take bits and pieces from all those ideas, right? Definitely surround it with, kind of Westcott style, resorts, right? That kind of create the berm, as it were. But could you do something that's, maybe inspired by Tokyo Disney Seas and like, Disney's Animal Kingdom in some aspects, right? Like the kind of nature aspect of it, like, and you could do like maybe the I think it's is it Mount Prometheus in
I think so.
Tokyo Disney Sea, the volcano, right? You could do the volcano, and on the edges there, you can do some kind of green space that might incorporate something like Zootopia, whatever Shanghai Disneyland's getting. You could do maybe Pandora World of Avatar in some of those spaces, right? You could still have it be surrounded by resorts, but maybe in that section, leave a very kind of a tree or berm like and stuff like that. I think that'd be really cool. I look at that area, some of those areas in Tokyo Disney Sea, especially the entrance area, the New York area. It just fascinates me. But I obviously love Mount Prometheus and that amazing volcano that goes off every like 15 minutes or something down there, especially at night. It looks absolutely fantastic, but I also think about, man, it would be really cool to get something like Pandora. And it doesn't necessarily fit in Disneyland or Disney California Adventure, but hey, maybe it fits there, Yeah. And of course, Zootopia is a wonderful IP. So I think there are a lot of different ideas that you can kind of incorporate into this. I'm super excited about the future and the prospect of a third gate. From what I understand, that land is still zoned for a third gate, and that doesn't require anything from Disneyland Forward to incorporate that. So, yeah, we will see. But it looks like the company is still focused on the two parks we have now, and that's just as exciting.
I just hope that Disney doesn't do one thing, is like put these oversized barges on an open lake area where they're just bobbing like oversized turds, and it's wait a minute, never mind, already done it.